At midnight, Cinderella made her choice. But what will she become? The grand piano filled the abandoned castle with a haunting melody. Cinderella's fingers glided over the keys, her expression calm and composed, as the clock ticked closer to midnight. Shadows slithered along the walls, creeping toward her as if waiting.
It's time, Cinderella.
The voice echoed through the hall, smooth and menacing. She froze, her hands hovering over the keys, as the dark entity emerged from the shadows. Its smoky form shimmered faintly, its hollow eyes fixed on her.
You've waited long enough,
The entity said, circling her.
Now is your moment. They cast you out. They betrayed you. It's time to show them what you're capable of.
The entity extended a smoky hand toward her, its tone darkly persuasive.
Power, fear, the kingdom you deserve. All of it is yours for the taking. All you have to do is give me your hand.
The clock struck its final chime. Midnight. Cinderella turned, her gaze locking onto the entity's hollow eyes. Without hesitation, she raised her trembling hand and placed it in the entity's grasp.
Good choice,
It said, its voice dripping with satisfaction. The moment their hands touched, the castle exploded with dark energy. Shadows surged from the walls, twisting and coiling around Cinderella's body like living chains. Her head tilted back as her body lifted into the air, and a gasp escaped her lips as the power consumed her. Her soft blue gown twisted and darkened, morphing into a sleek, jagged black dress that shimmered like liquid shadow. As the dark energy surged through her, Cinderella's golden hair shimmered and drained of warmth, transforming into long, flowing strands of pale platinum blonde. Her skin became porcelain pale, almost luminous under the flickering light, as if the warmth of life had been stripped away. When her eyes snapped open, they blazed with an icy blue radiance, piercing and unfeeling, a reflection of the cold-hearted queen she had become. Shadows swirled at her feet, the storm outside pausing in reverence as her transformation completed, leaving behind a presence as chilling as frost and as powerful as the raging winds. The air grew heavier, the storm outside pausing for a brief, eerie silence. Slowly she lifted her head, a faint, sinister smile spreading across her face. The world will never forget what happens next. The king's palace doors burst open with a thunderous crash, silencing her. Cinderella strode inside, her black gown flowing like smoke, her glowing eyes fixed on the throne at the end of the hall. Shadows moved around her, swirling in anticipation. The king stood from his throne, his face pale with disbelief. Cinderella, he stammered, his voice trembling. What is this?
Did you miss me, Your Majesty?
She said, her voice steady but dripping with contempt.
You didn't think I would just disappear, did you?
What do you want? The king demanded, his fear barely masked. The throne? The palace? Cinderella tilted her head, amusement flickering in her glowing eyes.
I'm here to teach you a lesson.
With a flick of her wrist, shadows shot forward, wrapping around the king and dragging him to his knees. He gasped for air as the tendrils tightened. His loyal advisor rushed forward, shouting, "Stop this madness!" But Cinderella didn't even look at him. With a glance, she sent him flying into a pillar, his body crumpling to the ground.
You are weak.
Cinderella yelled, stepping closer to the king.
You failed to protect your family. You failed your kingdom. And now, you'll fail yourself.
What? What do you want from me? The king choked, his voice breaking under the weight of his fear. Cinderella leaned in, her glowing eyes piercing.
Tomorrow you will announce to the people that you are stepping down. You will declare me as their one and only queen to rule this kingdom.
And if I refuse? The king spat, desperation flickering in his gaze. She smiles in a sinister way as the shadows tightened around him.
Think carefully, Your Majesty,
she said, her voice dripping with menace. Then with a chilling laugh that echoed through the grand hall, she straightened. She gestured to the shadows, and they dragged the king away to the darkest chamber of the palace.
You will stay here.
She called after him, her voice calm yet cutting.
My magic is the only way to free you. Refuse me, and you'll rot as my prisoner.